Hey, this is Jeremy from Production Den. So glad to have you on the channel with me today. Today we're going to be talking about using effects like delay and reverb on your vocals to make them sound more professional in your mixes. I've been trying to improve my vocal mixes, and I recently ran across a video from Austin Hall from Make Pop Music about how he uses multiple delays and multiple reverbs to give a little bit more of a full and lush sound for a vocal. So I'm going to walk you through how to set that up in FL Studio and show you what exactly I'm doing to make that happen. So the first thing that we're going to do is actually select a couple of channels by holding Control and Shift and clicking each one of those channels, and then we're going to press Alt and the left arrow to bring them over to where the main vocal is sitting in the mixer track. So I realized when I started editing this video that I actually jumped straight into a whole bunch of things without explaining a couple of the basic principles. So I'm going to cover those real quick on this little example track before we actually jump into the main track that we'll be working on. You'll see that a lot of times I'm talking about the routing of the effects. I'm talking about sends, and I'm talking about mixing those back into the master track. So let's look at this really quickly. So in this example track, we have this vocal track on track 4, and it is being bussed out to this main master track. And you'll see this green arrow down at the bottom with the amount that's being dialed in using that little knob that's right there. And then what I talk about doing is going back to that main mixer track that the vocal is on, and then I am sending that main vocal to each of those 4 channels. So these are 4 sends where the effects are going to be at. So I'm sending the vocal to a short reverb, to a long reverb, to a short delay, and to a long delay. So right now, if you look at this, the main vocal is linked up to the master track, but it's also linked up to what will become the short reverb, the long reverb, the short delay, and the long delay. And then I'm dialing in how much of that vocal is being sent to each one by using this knob here. So I'll send less to this short delay by doing it down like this, or I can send more by dialing it up like this. And then the last piece that I needed to cover was when we actually go into the delays, which will be these other 2 channels. Pretend that they're insert 7 and 8. I'm actually taking them out of the main mix by disconnecting from that master track. And then I am connecting them with the long reverb that is in insert 6 right here. So when you look at insert 7, it's not going out to the master track, it's only going into where the long reverb is at. And then I'm dialing in how much delay is being sent to that by dialing in that knob again. So I'm doing some routing here that might seem a little bit confusing, but basically it boils down to I'm sending the vocal to 4 different places for effects, but then I'm also taking those effects and routing some of those effects, like the delays, into the reverb instead of out to the master track. And then I'm also using some EQ on each one of those effects. So hopefully it's not super confusing. If you have some questions or something seems confusing, just leave that in the comment section below and hopefully I can help you work that out. But let's go ahead and jump in. And now we're gonna make sure that the main vocal is pushed out to the master track and just make sure that that's coming through. And the first thing that we're going to do is set up the first reverb, which is going to be a short reverb. So I'm going into Convolver and I'm going to select this EMT 250. And then I'm going to name it SM Reverb, or SM Verb for small reverb. And I'm going to connect the main vocal to that channel so it's I'll go through the process of dialing that in a little bit. And I'm going to increase the wet on it so it sounds a little bit more. So I'm going to decrease that a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in an EQ on this and actually EQ out some of the top end of that reverb. Same thing on the low end. Just finding some spots that bothered my ear and taking those down. both the top end and the low end. Next thing we're gonna do is set up the next reverb. So we're gonna use the Fruity Convolver again. And this time I'm gonna choose like a warm cathedral sound. Same thing, listen to it again after I've connected the main vocal into it. Name this one the large reverb, LG reverb. Alright, and then dial in the wet. Dial that amount back of what's being sent from the main vocal. And then again, put in another EQ and then shape that reverb a little bit more. Taking out some of the low end, taking out some of the top end, and then adjusting parts that it don't sound right to my voice, or sound right to me in my ears. Just balancing those things out again, and now we're going to move on to actually putting in a delay. So I'm going to use Fruity Delay 2 for this first one. I'm going to set it up to be short by dialing back the time on it. And dialing back the cutoff on it. So it's more like a slapback delay. And then we're going to disconnect it from the main and just pipe it only into the large reverb. So I'm going to name this one the small delay, so SMDLY for small delay. Take it out of the master channel and then push that through, or punch that through the large reverb. And then again, dial in how much of that we're going to send to the reverb. And then again, same thing with EQ, just kind of shape that a little bit more, taking out some of the top, taking out some of the bottom. Then we're going to move on to the third delay, which will be a larger delay. I'm going to use Fruity Delay 3, but I'm going to set it up for ping pong and keep it a little bit more like a longer delay time. But I'll dial in those settings a little bit as well as we listen to it. So large delay for this one, LG DOY. Make sure that we're piping in the main vocal track to that. So now start messing with the settings. So take that out of the master one only for that large delay, and then put that into the large reverb. So I'm going to put another EQ on this one, and then shape the delay a little bit as well with the EQ, so taking out the top end, a little bit of the low end as well. So then again, dialing in how much is being sent to that reverb. Now here's everything without effects. And this is with all the effects back in. And then what I'll do is start moving around the song to make sure it makes sense in different parts of the song. So I might have to adjust some of the effects as well. So I'll move over to a different section of the song and listen to what the effects sound like on a quieter part. Just like a hurricane, she slips through the hands as she screamed of home again, still remain. Tended to her, just like a hurricane, so far away. So now I'm deciding to take some of that large reverb out of the master channel, so dialing back how much is being sent to that master channel. Again, just going back around to different spots and checking just to make sure that I like the way that that is sounding across the board. Listening to it and then making any small tweaks that I want to make. Well, hopefully it was helpful for you to be able to see how to set up delays and reverbs to help get a little bit more of a full sound for your vocal. I want to thank Austin and that incredible video that he had showing how he did it in Cubase. I'll link that in the description below, and hopefully it was helpful for you to be able to see how to translate that into the FL Studio DAW. I'd love for you to let me know which effect you have a little bit more trouble with, whether it's reverb or delay. Leave those in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next round.